Okay, I'm going to share this with you again.
Okay.
And double check it's working.
Yes.
Okay, so for whatever reason, we were talking on and on and on for like 10, 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
And it hadn't been working, but now it's working this time. I don't know why. Sorry about that. We are back for NAMA. Let's see. All the things that we need to re-say. News. The first news is that class schedules for September are public. If you're a premium member, also let us know you can see and hear us in the chat so that we know we got it right this time.
Maybe two of you.
Yes. So if you're not a premium member, if you are a premium member, you've had access to our classes for a few days now. If you're not a premium member, then you may have missed out on some of the classes. Some of the classes are already full. There are spaces in some of them, but if you want early access to classes, that's what premium membership is for. It's for that and for discounts on all of our courses, as well as all of these NAMA videos and a few other videos get uploaded there once they're no longer public. We have a lot of trips coming up. You want to go through your schedule again?
Yeah, I was going to give a couple more people a chance to get in here.
Sure. I'll go through my schedule first.
Okay.
I'm going all over the place. So I'm going to be in Pittsburgh in September. If you're not on my Pittsburgh lesson list and you'd like to...
She says now it's just a black screen on YouTube.
I don't think that's... It might. There are people commenting on YouTube.
Great.
So...
Make sure she has the new link.
Yeah. So if you want to be on my Pittsburgh list for training, send me a message so I can add you to that list. My lesson schedule will go out soon, and I'll be doing that. I've got a new intro to nosework class that's starting in September. It's full. It's got a wait list, actually, of 3 dogs. And since there's 3 dogs in it, I'm considering starting a second session of Intro to Nosework. We'll start it for 4 dogs. So if I can get 1 more dog, I'll do it. If you are interested or know someone who's interested, let me know so that I can put out information. I just don't know when it'll be yet. I have to go through my schedule and figure out when I can do a 6-week session. I'm going to be in Florida in September. So if you're interested in getting together with me for a lesson in Florida, let me know. I'm going back to New Mexico. I'm going to Ohio. I've got a lot of workshops coming up. So definitely keep in touch with me if you're in one of these areas and like to be connected. Let's see. Do we have any in-person events? I don't think so.
We're hoping to get a vehicle day on the calendar.
Yeah, those are always
maybe
fun.
in November. We just need to coordinate with some other people to get that actually official.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be doing some holiday stuff as we move into that part of the year, which we need to already start thinking about.
Yes.
I'm leaving on Thursday for judging AKC weekend in the Minnesota area, and then Arizona immediately after that for Alex Woodruff's Sniffing and Strawberry Camp, and then 3 days of workshops in Pasadena hosted by Kara LaRue, I think. I just blanked on her last name while I was saying it. And then Pennsylvania camp for the first-ish week, like the 3rd to the 9th of September.
And then we'll both be doing a few events together. We're going to be in Indiana.
We're both going to be teaching Colorado camp at the beginning of October. Yep. We're both going to be in Indiana toward the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I just did a symposium with Scentwork University. Failure is a growth opportunity. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was a great conversation. Those symposiums are a really cool format where you can hear multiple trainers talk about a subject, see where we agree, see where we disagree. Highly recommend you check them out, and everything else Scentwork University has to offer. Yep. They have a lot of great resources. We've got a few coming up.
Yeah, I'm doing both the How to Prep AKC clients on September 19th. And then How to Prep NACSW clients, we're both doing on October 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a Judge's View event also in November that neither of us are doing, but a bunch of other great people.
Mhm.
And then I'm doing the AKC Handling Discrimination and Buried specific one in December.
Absolutely. Let's see. Did that cover everything that we covered the last time we started it?
I think so.
We were a little bit more efficient
We
this
sped
time.
through it.
Yes.
And we decided we were going to go over one of the trials sent to us, the first one
Well,
that was sent to us.
Let me intro that because they don't even know what you're talking
Well,
about.
if they were here last month, they do know
Yeah.
what I'm talking
So
about.
we're starting a new segment for NAMA where we go through a walkthrough video and debrief video at a trial. If you guys have walkthroughs and debriefs that you'd like us to look at and analyze and give our opinions of, then send them to us by email, and we will do our best to add them to our list, and we'll try to do one every single time we do NAMA, go through it and give our thoughts and strategy tips and things like that. This month, we're going to be looking at Minnesota Inner Grove Heights. It's an elite trial, an NW2 and L1C. We'll probably look at the elite and maybe a few of the others, depending on what people are interested in. If you submit one to us and you have particular questions, make sure to let us know. And if any of you guys have questions as we're doing it, let us know, obviously. But also, if you ran in this trial or know someone who did, who would like to share their videos, we may not review them in the NAMA, but I'm sure people would be interested to see people's videos. Yeah, so it might be interesting for everyone. So I think we're going to jump right into that right off the bat and then go into questions.
Yeah, we got a bunch today.
I'm not going to share system audio, right?
No.
Okay. So if you want to hear what the CO is saying, these walkthrough and debrief videos are publicly accessible to anybody.
Yes.
So you can go there yourself and watch them. But
I'm sure some of you
anything important, we'll tell you what they're saying while we watch it. Okay, so here we're looking at the elite video. Let's go through the walkthrough. Okay, so first video. She's going to show us the start line in a moment. Locker bank. Second locker bank. The start line, I'm guessing, is the door. Okay, nice room.
And more lockers.
3 and 4 locker banks. Okay.
Looks like fun.
Yeah. And that exiting hallway, very creepy. So they called it the annex. Okay, she didn't give us any information about.
I'll pull that up.
Yeah, about was it a range? Was it and
but
so
we
Natalie's
can make a lot. I mean, that's what you know the night before anyway. All you know is what it looks like.
I guess first question.
Make a lot of determinations from that.
For you, Natalie.
Yes.
Looking at this, if she gives you an on-off leash option, what are you likely to do?
Depends on which dog I'm running.
Okay, Tris.
I will probably run it off leash.
Icy.
On leash.
Why?
Because Icy is about half as efficient off leash as she is on leash.
My answer for my dogs is basically always off leash, and not for any strategic reason. It's just because I like running off leash.
Because you don't like leash handling.
I hate leash handling.
So it was a range of 3 to 5.
Yep.
There were 5.
Don't say that yet. It's a spoiler. We might want to say that later.
Why would
save
we
that
want to
information?
say that later?
Save that. So it's a range of 3 to 5 because we want to talk about strategy before we know how many there are.
I don't think
you
matters,
have 3.5. It does. If you have 3, you have 3.5 minutes. It's a range of 3 to 5. Should that change your approach?
It's a big enough range that it really ends up meaning you just need to cover the search area.
Yeah, I think
if you get to 5, you get to be so happy and call finish.
Yeah,
but that doesn't happen a lot of the time.
No, right. But I think a lot of people overthink known versus unknown versus ranged. And I think in general, it shouldn't matter that much. What you should be looking at is the size of the space and the time limit you're given. Those are the more important features than how many hides, in my opinion.
I kind of disagree, at least with Icy. If it's just an unknown, then I tend to
Just an unknown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a simple unknown number. Then I'm gonna try to cover fairly carefully the whole thing. If it's a known, then I'm going to say go as fast as you possibly can until we get to 4 or whatever the number is.
Interesting. I don't feel that way. I think I'm going to cover no matter what, because if I know it's 4, it doesn't matter if I don't know that it's 4. I'm going to still try to cover my space as effectively as possible.
I'm still going to try to be effective.
I think
like,
there's only one
hide problems or something. I want to get that.
There's only one exception, which is if it's a 1 hide. If it's 1 hide, that does change my perspective, which is one of the reasons I don't try to play NW1 competitively. I don't think you gain anything doing that.
No, all you can do is dog find it.
You just cross your fingers and hope they get it. Yeah, so looking at this room, I'm not particularly worried about anything. I think the main things you got to be careful with are the transition areas, targeting the objects. Now, I would bet most of the hides are on objects. I'm not sure. Okay, let's talk about how many hides there were now.
Okay, so there were 3.
Okay, let me see
which is
the thing.
Bottom of the range, which, so then if this is not the right one.
You want to pull that out into a separate window so we don't lose it?
So that's the minimum, which at least, if you get to 3, you don't know you're missing anything if you get to 3, but you still could be missing 2.
Yeah, should we maybe go to the debrief now and watch the debrief for that search?
Do you want to watch the debrief for everything?
Why wouldn't we? Just so we can see where the hides were. Which one of these is the annex?
This one? Yeah.
Okay, so here's our debrief. We're only going to see a finger pointing out the hides, basically. Okay, so the start line was halfway down. Okay, she's just telling us the parameters of the search. Okay, so tub handle.
Elevated tub handle. That's interesting and fun.
Okay, corner of that chair. Okay, so a little triangle.
And so you have all those banks of lockers with nothing in them.
Yeah, a lot of negative space. That messes with people a lot. She's saying here there was a lot of pooling from that chair, which is interesting, especially when you think like a chair hide shouldn't really cause that much of an issue in general. I mean, I've seen a lot of chair hides cause issues, but
yeah, they're not as simple.
No, they don't have to be. So,
and that's a very interesting and unusual chair. You don't see chairs like that all the time.
I would say that this search, I'm curious what the pass rate was now because it looks simple to me.
It looks easy to overthink, though.
Yeah, well, that's not. It says anything about the search. It says something about the competitors.
Well, they did pretty well. The average was 70% of the available points, so that's pretty good.
That means they're missing a hide. Most people missed a hide,
or got some falses.
I need to look at the results page to get a better idea of how many dogs found all 3 hides. Would you pull up the results page for me?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, while she does that, let's watch the next search area because I don't feel like, honestly, there's that much to say.
But also, so you find all 3 of those really fast, but you're still going to
How long are you going to stay?
All of those other banks of lockers because you don't know that you're done. So that's good for working on your unproductive areas.
The one elite trial I did with Minnow, my rule that I decided to arbitrarily follow when I was there was that I wasn't going to leave until I heard the 30-second warning. I was going to use as much time as I could. And I found myself wanting to call finish a minute and a half, 2 minutes before they were calling 30 seconds. So that was hard on me because I leave areas quickly. But yes,
a lot of people in Elite are waiting until the last 5 seconds, not the last 30 seconds.
And so that's a lot of energy that you're wasting trying to prompt the dog to search areas that are empty, maybe getting
Well, you have a very fast dog.
maybe presenting the dog in the same area over and over again and getting false alerts, things like that. What? Okay.
Because I've many times found a hide in the last 10 seconds, 15
Delete.
seconds of a search. What are you wanting to find out?
How many dogs got like a perfect score in that search?
So available points was 17.65, and
Okay,
11
so
dogs got
11 dogs got
perfect
all
score.
3.
That's good. Pretty
Not
good.
bad. Yeah, so
And then a bunch missed. Well, a few maybe missed one or got some falses.
They won't get faults if they get falses. They just lose points.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, and then a bunch had 11.7, and then some at 8, and then
some quite low
some
points.
lower. So definitely quite a big spread of points there.
Okay, let's watch the second search. Cafeteria search. There's our start line. Okay, this area here is all in play.
Lots of potentially complicating, breezy tables.
I would say this is a medium-sized search area. Some people would say it's a large area. But to me, that looks medium. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, size is all relative, but yeah, I wouldn't.
If you're used to NW123, this is a big area.
It's not huge.
It's not huge. It shouldn't be huge from your training. Why is she calling that lower? Oh, because it is a step down. Okay. Okay, so same question here. On or off leash in this search? Is it the same answers for your dog?
It's the same answer, except I would be a little less happy about being on leash because of all the legs sticking out everywhere. So I might, if it started getting complicated with the leash, I would take her off.
What's the range? Unknown, known?
Unknown.
Unknown.
5.5 minutes.
Yeah. 5.5 minutes. That's a long time.
But it's not going to feel long in this space for most teams.
It will for me.
Probably. Depends on how many hides there are. Depends on what work your dog has to do to solve them.
Yeah, I guess. It may be. It looks like a long time for the space. This space, maybe 5.5 minutes, you said?
Mm-hmm.
5.5. Okay. And yeah, with a lot of searches of this shape, we're going to basically doing our standard routine, get into each of the corners, check the threshold, cut through the middle, maybe. I'm going to be segmenting this search in my own mind. The lower level will be separate from the upper level. Probably that area around the block. Yeah, it's going to be its own section. Exactly. I'm probably going to work it like that as 3 separate search areas and probably give 1.5 minutes-ish to each of those areas. I'm not timing this. I'm just, my own internal clock is going here. What else do we need to know? How many hides were there?
Oh, there were 6.
Okay, excellent.
Good number.
Yeah. Do we want to look at where the hides were?
Sure.
Okay. Cafeteria. Which one's a cafeteria, you think? This one?
None of those, but the middle one, I think.
So you think not this one?
I think not that one, but I could be wrong.
This one. Yeah, you're right. 6 hides total, which you heard.
It's one suspicious stable.
Inaccessible. She's saying these 3 hides were all in the threshold area. So we have I wouldn't call those close hides, but they're definitely hides in a transition area that you could blast through and get 1 or 2 of and miss one.
Or miss all of them.
She's talking about how the dogs were working the hides and where the hides were pooling.
I should cut it down a bit. The sun drew the odor into those wall tables.
Yeah, I think she said there were 2 hides on these tables. They're mirrored.
Those are fun.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder why they cut this area down so much. Anywhere on that?
I think that's what she said.
Wow, they're giving very big call
I think
areas.
she said you could call anywhere on those tables. But she also said that it was getting taken to the sun, so going straight through the tables.
Okay, this is our last hide.
A little more elevated. So none of that lower level ended up being in play.
That like chops out a huge area for me.
Yeah. Well, that's something I've been seeing in Elite and Summit some recently, which is they tell you an area and then they cut a fair bit down.
Yeah.
And maybe that's easier on the competitors than
And maybe some other things went worse or better than they expected.
Yeah.
Things like that.
But they said they didn't want people going up and down the stairs.
Maybe,
in the
yeah.
middle of the search.
They could have learned from the trial site that was something they didn't want happening. Okay, let's look at search area number 3. A bunch of very big interior
Library.
spaces in this.
Just common delete.
All of that is out of play behind the blue dots. I guess all the area behind the desk is out of play. Yep. More blue cones there. People really worry about these big areas populated with tons of tables and chairs. I think they worry about it because they feel like they need to go in and out of all the tables and chairs, which would be a waste of time. Yeah.
I would be maybe more tempted to go off leash in this search.
Why?
Because I think Odor's going to move a lot.
Okay.
And then my dog's going to want to go in and out and through and under and around
Mhm,
the
mhm.
stuff in a way that I will have trouble facilitating potentially on leash.
So, what was the basic parameters?
Unknown number, 5 minutes.
Unknown 5 minutes. Okay, so very similar to the last one.
Yeah.
And what did we have in it?
5 hides.
5 hides. Okay. Let's take a look. Library. That's this one. Outlet hide. That's a cool hide. Underneath the desk, which people were like, is that a boundary marker? You're going to have that conversation.
Well, and I've had hides on those sorts of desks, and they can be quite tricky.
Yep. Okay. Okay, bookshelf hide.
I think
like
we
that.
missed her telling us about a chair hide.
No, I heard it.
Okay.
She pointed it out. Okay. I so far I'm not seeing any hides that look particularly challenging to me. That doesn't mean they weren't challenging. I'm just saying I'm not saying anything completely outlandish, not some huge inaccessible hide, not some way super elevated hide, not what people traditionally think of as difficult.
Yeah, but just the existence of the other hides in the space and the parameters, the time limit, the size ends up making things harder, even if the hides themselves are NW1 or NW2 hides.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the last search. Locker room search. There's our start line. Oh. Okay. Those back rooms are out of play. That is out of play too. That's also out of play. So it's just the
big
banks of
set
lockers,
of
basically.
lockers. That's fun. I like searches like that. I would do this on leash for sure.
I would probably do it off leash.
Dog's gonna disappear.
They are going to disappear. You're going to lose sight of them. So you need to have good verbal control of your dog and be confident about moving in and out of the rows and things like that. And then, you know, I might consider staying on leash, but yeah, I just prefer running off leash. You know that.
Yes. We got it. Do you want to take a question from the last video before we continue talking about this one? Okay. How would you handle the massive number of chairs in the library search?
I would go off leash and let the dog go in there if they wanted.
And you'd assume probably
if I were
escaping enough,
yeah,
that they'd get.
If it's not escaping enough, I'm gonna miss it. I'll just say that. But let's give me a break. It's gonna escape. If I'm on leash, I would treat it like a vehicle for the most part. So I'd go around. Maybe I'd cut it into 2 big pieces if I needed to. So if it's a really big bank of tables and chairs, I go around the outside of them all and then cut up the middle once. And that's like, it. If I have extra time.
There'll be wind here somewhere. I'm just going to get into it. So getting to every side on the outside.
But the funny thing is to waste all your time worrying about that. None of the hides were in there.
No.
They could have been.
They could have been. And a lot of us have had searches that did have very interesting, tricky hides in those areas. But a lot of the times our dogs did get us there. We didn't have to work everything.
Correct.
We just had to work where the dog wanted to work.
But I think that fixating on them is way worse than ignoring them. Yeah. I'm not saying you should ignore them, but I'm saying fixating would be the worst mistake to make. Do your perimeter, do the outside of those tables and chairs. And then if you got some extra time, sure, knock yourself out.
Yeah. Many years ago, I did an elite trial with Hazel where we had a chapel that was all pews. And we got all the hides that were on the edges of the pews, but we missed one that was down in the center of one pew at the beginning. And I don't even know. You don't remember enough to know were we anywhere near there ever? I don't know. But anyways, this spring I did an elite P with Icy where we had a chapel that reminded me of that. And I was a little worried that if they had something deep in the middle of a pew that she wouldn't get there. And this was a known number, I believe 4. And she just dragged me around the whole thing and got all the hides, and we got first or second in that search. But there was a pew hide, and it wasn't in the middle, but it was on a far end. And she went way from the other side and cut across. We, ran through this whole long pew to get there. And so I was like, okay, this may be like 8 years later or something, but I don't need to worry about my dog getting down in the pews because clearly it was catchable from ages away in that space.
I think the more you work those types of spaces, the less worried you get about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we need to know about this search?
So the locker room is a known 3.
Known 3 hides.
3 minutes.
I'm more likely to go off leash knowing that it's known. Not that I was ever likely to go on leash, but if I was considering it, knowing that it's known, just let my dog find 3 hides. I'm not worried about her going out of sight because I have time to get around to all the areas.
Yeah, you have a minute per hide.
I'd rather her just go, and I know she'll wait for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at where these hides are. I was wondering if there was going to be one on this blue thing.
It's also very suspicious. Yep.
Yeah. It did look very conspicuous.
Not that you should be overthinking where the
corner of the locker. Wow. All on this side of the search. I love that.
At the very beginning.
So
if you go disappear into that bank of lockers thinking those are the most suspicious thing here, you could waste all your time.
If you get fixated on covering your search area and driving your dog to the opposite corner from where you found a hide. You're running away from hides. You're going to mess this up. Search area coverage doesn't just mean covering the whole space. It means covering it well, which means you're not running past hides.
And this is one where I actually am interested in what the results were, because they knew how many. And I wanted to see who found the 3 hides the fastest, and it was a 48-second search.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
How many found all 3? Looks like a lot.
Quite a bit. 16 found all 3.
Out of how many?
Out of 29.
16 out of 29. Okay.
So just over half.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting search. Any last comments about these searches?
No, it looks like a very fun trial. Big spaces with lots of airflow. So I think the hides do end up kind of complicating themselves, but looks super fun.
Absolutely. Okay. So once again, to reiterate, if there's a walkthrough debrief that you'd like us to go through and talk about strategy, I mean, this one for me, like each of the search areas were, to me, very similar. They were big squares, except for the locker room, which was a slightly smaller square, but it made up for it in like complexity. But it wasn't complex. It was complex in terms of you couldn't see on the other side of each locker bank, and you can't move through them.
One person did get 100
on the overall day.
Yeah.
Nice.
2 people got 42 points. I mean, 90. Sorry.
We're just giving you the contrast of the best and the worst. Yeah.
2 people got 94 points, and then someone else in the 90s, and then a few people in the 80s, a bunch in the 70s. So
the top 2 breeds are pointing breeds. Go pointing breeds.
Weimaraner and a GSP. And then a lab.
Yes.
And
Hunting
then a
breeds
Vizsla.
for the
and then
wins.
a golden. And then a lab.
Oh my gosh. It takes a while to get to a herding dog.
Luck of the draw.
No offense to herding dog people. I was once one of you.
Not really, no.
Yes, I was. I had border collies. I worked sheep herding.
Yeah, you were never a herding dog person, and you would have said so yourself.
Fine. I'll accept that. Okay. Let's get to some questions because I got to teach a class in not too long. Let's start from the top. All comments. Okay. I'm looking for suggestions for building a strong, clear start line routine for a small dog. There have been 3 instances where he finds odor but doesn't communicate to the handler, which is interesting. I wonder what that has to do with start line routine. Maybe we'll get to that.
Yes, she does.
One was his first exposure to buried bins, one in exterior, and the third using red cups in lattice. The bins and cups were novel situations. In the exterior search, he marched up to the first hide but dismissed it. Went on to find a second hide and indicated for reinforcement, then went directly back to the original hide and indicated. It was like he said, "Oh, we are searching and you want to know about the location of odor. Thanks."
So I would kind of throw out the novel exposures because it's hard to tell if that was for the same reason, but I would pay attention to if this is coming up.
I would almost throw out all of them personally. I'm not sure. I don't believe there's a theme here.
Yeah, we don't know if there's a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would still answer the question.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced that there's a problem.
No.
Unless there's a bunch more.
And if there is a problem, I wonder, like I've talked about something I call threshold blindness, where handlers, the dog comes in and alerts on like the first box. And the handler almost never calls it.
Yeah.
It's too unexpected. No, it can't be that one. That's just the first box. They don't want
exactly afraid of being wrong.
So the handler ignores the dog or pushes them off the hide to go find it, and you have to get it on the way back. Because of this, some dogs know their handler is never going to respond to them at the beginning of the search. And so some dogs don't give that commitment because the handler's slow. And what I would be more likely to do, other than a start line routine, what I would be more likely to do is pair that hide, do it as a single. There wouldn't be a second or third or fourth hide. There would only be that one hide. I would do basically my start line drills. And I think that takes precedence ahead of building a start line routine. I think it's much more important that the dog is trained to do a threshold hide no matter what the handler is bumbling about at the start line.
Yes, on the other hand, I do think a start line routine is very valuable.
It is.
But we all make errors. We all do something weird, forget the correct leash,
Yes.
are extra nervous, are worried about our treats, or injure our one arm, so we're having to use the other one. So I want the dog
Yeah.
to be able to be flexible and understand the job as a job regardless.
And so, yeah, let me hammer this point home, and then we'll give you like kind of a start line routine. But to hammer this point home, if the dog isn't strong on its thresholds and you focus on building a start line routine, what you kind of might end up doing is creating a dog who's even more fragile, that if you don't do that routine, that there's no foundation there to carry the dog. Like, you want that foundation to work even if the start line routine is failing. And that's where I would start. And then when the dog is super solid, it's like, okay, now here's your start line routine.
Yeah. So we're big fans of changes of equipment.
Yeah, yes, but that should not happen at the start line. It should happen at the staging area, or if you're at a class, you pull the dog out of the car, you potty them, and you put on their harness, you put on their collar. Harness people, stop potting your dog in their harnesses. You guys are so lazy. Not all of you, okay? But I know a lot of you who are like, oh, but it's just such a hassle to put it on and off. That's too bad. You chose the harness.
That's part of why I use the martingale
exactly.
instead of harness, because they're a pain in the butt.
And to be fair, there's some who says, well, my routine isn't the putting on the harness. It's switching from the collar to the harness. Okay.
And that will work for some dogs, but the dogs who have very committed problems like pottying,
yes, which is the main one,
need layers of routine to make it really, really, really obvious to them.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
You first. Are you getting to the start line already?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm not ready for that yet. Okay. And also in this routine of changing the equipment, also potting the dog before you change the equipment, in this routine, there should be some assessment of the dog's warming up. Are they in the right arousal state? Are they focused? And so one mistake, and I actually just was coaching a student about this. They did an NW1 and they missed one of the searches and they weren't sure why. It's a very strong dog. And part of what I said was, I think the dog was asleep in the crate. You pulled them out and just went to the search, and the dog wasn't awake yet.
Yeah.
So some dogs are the opposite. They're hyperactive and you need to bring them down.
Yeah.
But when you pull your dog out of your crate, you need to assess, how is my dog feeling? Are they awake enough? Are they too awake? What can I do? What do I have routines for bringing down arousal and bringing up arousal? And those routines are things that you're doing up to the first staging area. Or the last staging area, I should say. And then when you get to the last staging area, now it's time to go, okay, we're approaching the start line. It's time to get into like work mode.
We put the equipment on or switch to the equipment. I'm getting my leash ready. My treats are where I want them to be. I am deciding if I want my dog on my left or my right, depending on the search area and the start line. And then a clear and consistent search signal, release signal. I know people who don't even bother to teach a search command, and I understand some of their arguments, but I have also seen dogs who, like, I was working with one dog who she didn't have a search command at all. She just ran at the search area and the dog would start searching, and the dog pooped in the middle of the search. And when you gotta go, you gotta go. So they cleaned it up, and then I was gonna have her continue, and the dog had no idea how to get back to work after an interruption.
Right.
Because the routine was not there.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any real way to do the routine in the middle of the search area. I mean, she could have just run it some random part of the search area, but the dog, even trying something like that, the dog was completely confused. So I'm a big fan of either a verbal or a tactile release signal. For deaf dogs, you need something that's tactile.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think one thing that needs to be said even before this is that understand that as you're approaching the start line from the last staging area, your dog is already searching. And this gets to the question that we had there. Do you wait to put on your martingale until you're at the staging area? Yes. When I'm at a trial and I get in line, I ask the first volunteer, how many staging areas are there? And then sometimes they don't know, which is whatever. It's fine. But then as I'm going, when I think I'm there, I ask, is this the last staging area? And they say, yes, it is. You're going to go into your search over there. Great. That's when I put on my martingale or whatever equipment I'm going to have. I put it on in the last staging area. And that gives the dog permission. Why? Because I want them searching as I approach the start line.
And I don't want them searching at the 2 or 3 other staging areas or in the parking lot because they're expending a lot of extra energy. I had a student years ago who argued with me a couple times about the utility of using a change of equipment. And then she was at a trial and she did what she always did, which is put the harness on in the car. And then they walked to their search and they had to walk across an entire football field. And the dog searched the entire time. And by the time they got to the search area, the dog was done, exhausted. And she came back to class next week and said, I think I believe you now that he thinks that equipment means search. And so he searched. And so she shifted it after that to actually being when she wanted him to start searching.
Now, keep in mind what I'm talking about, the dog searching up to the start line. This is really advice for the handler that this is not your time to make sure you've got treats, not to reel up your leash, not to put on your equipment. And while the dog is actually actively working and maybe smelling a hide, now you're pulling on them and yanking them. Doing the with your watch or whatever you use. Okay.
GoPro.
I get it. I start my GoPro when I leave the last staging area. So you get all the walk up to the start line, usually the whole judge's steward briefing. And then I stop at when I leave. So yes, I think you as a handler need to be on at that point. And then when I get to the start line, personally, with most of the dogs I run right now, I like a hard stop. I'm going to stop there. With some of the dogs I run, they're going to sit. And this is a different sit than a competition obedience sit where the dog is looking up at me. This is a sit like a hunt test sit. The dog is looking out, they're scanning, but it is your butt's on the ground, get ready. You're about to be released. And so the dog is like excited, getting ready to be released. And then when I'm ready, I've composed myself, I've made my strategy, search. And all that time I've been paying attention to what my dog is. And if my dog is catching odor, I want to remember that I'm going to go to the start cones because I don't want to take a fault, right? But I might cross the cones, take them back. I might do different things based on what I observe.
Or turn yourselves that direction or something.
Yeah. To pick up on another small detail here, you mentioned that it's a small dog. There's nothing about my ritual that I would change if it's small or a large dog.
Did you do anything different with Maggie versus Minnow?
I don't.
You don't have Maggie sit, do
or
you?
Catfish, who's a lot taller. Do I have Maggie sit? Depends. Not usually.
Sit is not her favorite thing.
No, it's not. I would have to fight with her over it. So I don't have Catfish sit either. I have Minnow sit because she's over aroused.
Yeah.
Sitting is part of my bringing the dog down routine. But if I need to bring a dog up, I usually don't have them sit. I usually have them do other things.
Like we talked about Tris potentially having a sit at the start line because she's very powerful.
Yeah.
But she is lower arousal. And I don't want her lower than she already is. Yeah. So I have used a little bit of like back pressure on the chest with my hand and jazzing her up a little bit while still watching her nose. I don't want her turning and looking at me instead, but really making sure she's in a focus mode before I let her go.
Yeah.
Also, some people need to modulate how they say their search command.
Sure.
If you're saying search, some dogs might startle and be kind of unhappy about that.
Yeah.
Or some dogs might blast through their start line even faster because of all the energy.
And if you give it too little, some dogs may not even start searching if they didn't understand what you were saying.
Yeah. Whereas like Ghost most preferred it if we basically whispered her search command to her. That was her favorite.
How do you bring a dog up at the start line? I'm not sure what you mean. Like, how do I actually take them to the start line?
Increase the arousal. You were talking about bringing them down.
I don't do that at the start line. If I'm going to bring the dog up, it's going to happen at the last staging area. And I usually do that with several treat tosses with an arousal game. Get the treat, sit, get the treat, lots of that kind of thing.
Stuff that if you did at the start line, it would mess you up.
Yeah. And then I might, again, you have to, I want the dog working from the staging area to the start line, but maybe between the second to last staging area and the last staging area, I might run or jog to keep the dog's energy up, activate their muscles. It's a bulldog. The one Maggie, the one I might bring up more, I might smack her around a little bit,
she likes that.
The stuff that dogs like. If they like a toy, I might toss a toy to them or play tug with them a little bit. Those are the things I would do to bring a dog up.
Yeah. But just to reiterate what you just said a little bit, making sure that they have the opportunity to focus and work, not just at the start line, but very much at the start line, approaching the start line and then doing nothing to distract them when you're at the start line. Some people really want the dog to look at them, or maybe they don't want the dog to look at them. They just have a habit of the dog looking at them. I want my dog fully engaged in sniffing before I release them.
Absolutely.
Okay, good question.
Yes. Okay, next question. What would I look for when trying to determine my dog's odor obedience? This question is more about me developing my own skills and reading my dog's behavior versus the dog's act. I'm fairly confident she knows what she's doing. Do you have any suggestions or drills I can do to assess this? And what behavior should I be paying attention to? Then a follow up to this. If after my assessment I determine she needs more odor obedience, what drills do you recommend to strengthen this? Thank you both.
I have a baseline assumption that most dogs could have more odor obedience. They may be great. They may be winning trials. But most dogs, I'm not like, oh, you've got enough. I'm not going to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. I would generally agree with that. But what I want to define odor obedience first. For me, odor obedience is two things. The first thing is it says odor says come. The second thing is odor says stay. And what that means in practice is that there's an odor and the dog catches it. The dog should drop everything they're doing to pursue that odor at that moment. Okay. Now, how can we test that? There's a couple things we can do. The first is we can distract the dog while they're hunting. So we can run around, we can clap our hands, we can play with our treat pouch as the dog is working. And if they catch the odor and they're more attracted to the distractions we're doing than pursuing odor, they don't have enough. Okay. And kind of on the flip side, if we want to build more, you do the same thing. Just do that again until they win. And eventually they will win. You can also do it by setting hard hides that the dog will give up on if they get frustrated. And we see, do they have enough hunt drive or odor obedience, to carry them through the frustration? If your dog is quitting, okay, that means they didn't have enough odor obedience to pull through that problem. I would guarantee that there's always an odor problem that every dog would give up on. Some dogs might take a lot longer than others. Some might get into the dangerous behaviors, throwing themselves off cliffs and things like that. But generally speaking, every dog has a cutoff point where they won't pursue the odor anymore.
Yep.
Then the second is to stay. Okay. And we can challenge it the same way. Once the dog finds the odor, we can now throw in some distractions. I can do the same things. I can clap my hands. I can walk away from them. I can turn away. Does my dog stick to that odor? Or does the dog lose confidence and say, I must be doing something wrong. I should go to my owner and figure out what they want from me.
Yeah, because lots of dogs look like that's pretty good odor obedience. And then you turn your shoulders at the wrong moment and the dog goes, oh, whoops, I'll go with you.
Yes. To reiterate something else, we can also just use duration. So I've done this with a few students. I had one student that was really nervous about the dog's ability to stick to a hide, and they were going to their first ORT. And so I was like, the dog's fine. You don't have to worry about it. But she was really nervous about it. Said, okay, I put a hide on my fridge. I said, okay, we're going to let the dog find this hide. And as soon as they find it, I'm going to start a timer. You're not allowed to do anything. We're going to see how long it takes her to leave. Okay. Once she leaves, we'll let her come back and then you'll feed her. Right? Not a big deal. At 30 seconds, we gave up and we just go pay your dog because your dog's never going to leave.
Fantastic.
Yes. If you are building your odor obedience right, this is not a training drill that you should do to build odor obedience. But if you are building your odor obedience right, and we do this in our classes occasionally when I do stickiness classes, you should be able to wait there and not pay them. Again, I wouldn't recommend that you do this as a training drill. But if you want to test it to know, okay, test it and then go back to your basic.
Yeah, and if you find it's way less than you wanted, like it's 2 seconds, then okay, now you've got homework.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to know what the drills to build more odor obedience, check out all of our lessons on stickiness. We've got stickiness in foundation, or is it advanced foundation? It's one of those two courses. It's definitely in May the Source Be With You, which may not be accessible to members yet.
We can get you more detailed information by email or messenger.
Yeah, so just message us. But we have a couple. Oh, Mastering Multiple Hides has a stickiness course in it because it's the most important component for me of running multiple hides is that the dog is sticky first
and maintains.
You want to check foundation for me, please, real quick?
Oh, I was trying.
Perfect. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Okay, it's not there. Go to advanced foundation. It may not be there either. Nope, it's not there. Okay, so it's going to be in Mastering Multiple Hides. Intro to Odor kind of has a little bit about challenging the dog, but the drills we do are mostly kind of what you heard us say, just challenge the dog's approach. It doesn't, it's not the same as testing them, but it's challenging them, letting them win, and then paying them for winning.
Yeah,
That's
and not
the
that you
key.
should be doing that every practice, but it definitely needs to be built.
I would say every practice.
Well, it depends on what version of it you're doing. Like, I wouldn't run away from them, you know, in the opposite
I would
direction
get
every
a
class.
lot more exercise if I did that. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. It's a good question. But yeah, so that's what you need to do. If you want to determine, you can go through what I just said, and
Yeah.
you'll get a good sense of how much odor obedience your dog has.
I swing toys around very regularly when I'm working with a toy with either of my dogs, because if I'm going to use a toy in nose work, it has to not also be a significant distractor for them.
Okay.
Okay.
Last question, which is 2 questions. I have 2 questions. One, for multi-sport dogs, are there sports that are more or less compatible with nose work? Very unlikely that I'll actually have the time to do it, but I'm playing with the ideas for signing up for a herding class. I don't think nose work and herding are at
Nerding.
yeah, I did. I almost said nerding. Nose work and herding are at odds with one another, but I don't know what I don't know. LOL. And what about nose work related sports, for example, tracking? Okay, so this is a question we get all the time, and I've done both herding and nose work with dogs. And I don't think it makes it. The only time it could potentially make a difference is if you had a trial, which Natalie can tell you about her experience, on farm grounds with livestock that are moving in the distance. If you have a dog with a lot of herding instinct, a lot of drive, of course they're going to be attracted to that. It's no different than if your dog likes tennis balls and there's a tennis match going on in the right next to the search area. They're going to struggle with that.
Yeah, or your bird dog has a whole bunch of
Yes.
birds.
Now, that said, when I used to work at a sheep herding ranch, we went there all the time and set hides for our dogs, and we ran them. So it is doable. There's no conflicting skills.
No, and
I
there
would
are
say.
complementary things like good
Controlling
physical,
arousal.
Yeah, good physical what is the word? Conditioning.
Yeah.
Because you have to be in good shape to do herding well. Yes, good control. Hazel had a fantastic recall, which was additionally reinforced because of its utilization in herding. Yeah.
And so now tracking, I used to think that tracking would have a problem with nose work, but doing now tracking and nose work has no problems. I do recommend that when you're doing multiple dog sports, that you contextually separate the foundations. So I would rather not start my dog on tracking and on nose work at the same time. I want to start one, get it established, and then start the other. There is a minute possibility that some dogs get confused, in particular with the article indication and tracking, where some dogs start offering their nose work alert, or in nose work they start offering their tracking indication. Triss at this point has never offered her tracking indication in nose work, right? No. And she's never done that.
She's so large. She hates getting all the way
She
down
hates
in the
lying
down.
down, yeah.
So I can't imagine her offering that actually.
Yeah. Some dogs will track a little bit more during nose work, but we can do drills to kind of mess with that. And also, I think it's actually advantageous for the dogs to track a little bit in nose work.
Yeah, I think that overall, the various scent sports just help complement each other. But I do think it's useful to have clear context cues for your dog and different equipment for different sports.
So the only one that I technically have a theoretical problem with, and I would also say, it probably matters more on how you train it. Like obedience could be problematic for nose work if you trained it a particular way. That was very suppressive of a dog's natural decision making and things like that. But if you train obedience the way most people train today, where it's mostly drive building and things like that, it is actually complementary to nose work. But the one thing that I have a theoretical problem with, and again, my theory, you kind of have to throw it out the window because there are too many people doing both that are successful, is handler scent discrimination, especially the style done in AKC where they put the cotton swab in a nose work box.
Yeah, I really think it's only a problem at novice and it's
If they use gloves or dumbbells like they do in obedience, I would have no problem with it. Even
Yeah.
if like they detached it from the retrieve and let you do an indication, it's fine because I'm not going to put dumbbells out in my nose work search. But I
Yeah.
like having the competition ORT boxes out for both. I feel like I don't want my dog paying attention to anyone's hand scent.
Yeah. And of course, there are, like you said, there are lots of people who are very successful in both, but also people have to work hard to clearly differentiate between them for their dogs.
Yes. Question 2.
Yes.
Okay, second question is about stamina and physical cardio and nose work, especially since the more demanding, longer searches would be when the dog is more senior. How much does endurance and stamina in nose work help with a dog with staying on task? Does it make sense to purposely work on endurance and cardio, or is it rather negligible? Thank you.
I think it
Makes a huge difference.
Huge.
What was the statistic
I
at
think it's like
the
you-
CNCA conference?
I'm not sure if it's the same one I'm thinking of, but the statistic for being overweight
That's the one.
is like a 63% reduction in olfaction.
In olfaction specifically, a reduction for being overweight. And I wasn't a lot overweight either.
No, not very overweight.
Yeah.
Now they're so amazing that even super fat dogs can do nose work.
Yes.
But I mean, I think
How much better would they be?
Yeah. Elite and Summit, those really can be like endurance,
Yeah, but even NW1, let's just be like real concrete about that. Dogs who are in better physical conditioning, they might all pass, but the ones who are in better physical conditioning could do 8 NW1s in a day, and the others are tired, or they're just placing better. They're just getting better times. They're more focused. They're more everything.
Yes.
I can tell you from my own personal experience, being out of shape, it's harder for me to just focus on a task generally. I'm distracted, my back hurts, I'm tired, I'm hungry, whatever, right? But the more physically in shape I am, the easier it is for me to focus on tasks. That may not be true for everyone, but I do think that it's true for a dog. So I think your question is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And I think people have an obligation to keep their dogs in good shape, to give them a diet that doesn't make them overweight, condition them. All of these things are super
also,
important.
Like stretching and stuff too.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I've said for several years now that with my older dogs, one of the big things that we did in prepping for trial was not tons and tons of nose work, but it was making sure their physical conditioning was up. Yeah. And I definitely see a difference. And also, when I went to Colorado last year for a summit trial, we were way up like 8,000 plus feet above sea level. That was physically difficult for me. I was getting bad headaches, and I could see that Icy's breathing was not normal. And I know the trial was harder for her. Because we were not fully acclimated to being up that high. So if I went back, I would go a few more days earlier. But yes, that's a very important topic that's not talked about enough. We try to talk about some, and there are some trainers that are very focused on that. But yeah, it's super important.
Excellent.
All right. I guess
when's the next
one? So I need you to look at your calendar.
Me?
Because you're gone.
I know. We're going to have to do it while I'm out of town, aren't
Yes, we are. So I'm thinking September 22nd.
Oh. Yeah.
Will you have something that evening?
No. My Wimpy Dog class, other than that. I just have to make sure I book it home. We could do it after Wimpy Dog. Maybe that would be better.
Well, tentatively,
the 22nd.
The 22nd of September.
Yeah.
We'll announce it if we need to make a little shift.
Yep. Okay. Hopefully we'll see you then and see all your great questions. Make sure you submit your video walkthroughs and debriefs that you would like to see.
Yeah, we've got one on the list right now.
Yeah.
And thank you for bearing with our very strange technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on.
We were so on time, and then we were 15 minutes late.
We weren't. We were talking for 15 minutes.
We were.
Okay.
Should have figured out that nobody was hearing us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.